So I think I've got both live feeds, Periscope and Instagram going. That was tough. But we will give everybody a few minutes to roll in, and then we will start chatting, throw up some topics, take some questions. We're getting into a rhythm with this thing, so give it a few minutes and then we'll go. Got my notes up. Hopefully I've got my notifications and text messages turned off so they don't go off in the middle of this thing. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the discussions, the talk, the content that is on my Twitter, that is on my Instagram account, and I would like to I'd like to stream this on Facebook too. So that's something I'm going to do. So I got to get another piece of machinery to broadcast this thing. So it looks like we've got some people in here. Here's where we will start the discussion. Exit velocity and launch angles. Posted something today that got an interesting discussion about exit velocity being the best measurement tool to justify and verify training. Does that mean you're a good hitter? No, it doesn't mean you're a good hitter. If you can hit the ball 100 miles an hour, it doesn't mean you're a good hitter. But what it does mean is this. When we train, when we ask players to lift weights, when we ask players to hit balls off the tee, when we ask players to front toss, practice, what are we asking them to do? What are we asking them to perform? Or what are we asking them to get better at? I think all the data that you can find indicates that the harder you hit the ball, the better chance you have to be a good player. The wider window of productive launch angle you have. Now, the truth is this. Launch angle matters. Hitting the ball in the air matters. Launching the ball and practicing launching the ball at 20 degrees matter. The lower your exit velocity is, the more important it is that you hit the ball over the infield, because at 75 miles an hour exit velocity in baseball and low in softball. We're going to talk a little softball today because we had softball players get hosed, but we'll get to that. Lower in softball, 50 miles an hour exit speed in softball, 75. If you hit the ball in the infield, the higher you climb, the better, the more skilled the infielders get, you're out. Okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the higher your exit velocity, and you'll see in the data if you go to my Twitter account now that recently there's a post that is kind of a dot chart of exit velocity and then launch angles of base hits, and the higher the exit velocity goes, the wider the launch angle window gets. It is not that difficult. You hit the ball harder. Baseball and softball players should actively be training to hit the ball harder, and that is what I do most every day, is train players, weightlifting, weighted bat programs, all to measure and justify by exit velocity. Now, people will say, well, Chad, that doesn't help them time the ball, or that doesn't help them if they don't have a good approach. I know all that, okay? I'm not discrediting that, okay? But in my experience, in my own experience as a player, the better results that you get, the better your mentality is. And if you're hitting the ball at 85 miles an hour and you're not training to get that speed up to 90 or 92 or 93 or 95, then your window of launch angles that you could potentially be good at is smaller. If somebody asks on Instagram if you have a low exit velocity, then what should your launch angle be? Higher, 20 degrees. You have to be, if you're a really low exit velocity, the only chance that you have is to be around 20 degrees. I hate ground balls. I'm not afraid to say that, but hitting a baseball is not hitting a round ball with a round bat is not a perfect science. So aiming to launch balls at 20 degrees from a 10 to 20 degree swing plane, you're going to miss hit balls. You're going to miss hit them. You're going to miss hit the top of them to create ground balls. You're going to miss hit the bottom of them to create pop-ups. The weird thing is when you measure a lot of swing planes, you see that more pop-ups, more terrible infield pop-ups are created from negative swing planes than positive swing planes. You swing down through the back of a ball and you clip the ball and that thing pops up and spins in the infield. It happens all the time in here. You know, I've got Diamond Kinetics, I've got Hit Tracks, I've got negative swing planes produce more pop-ups in the infield than positive ones, I promise. You can take my word for that, or you can do your own justification, but negative swing plane produce more pop-ups. But the discussion is this. I hate ground balls, but ground balls hit at 95 miles an hour are potentially better than ones hit at 80. They're neither one are good, but the 95 ones are better than the 80 ones. So hit the ball harder. If your exit speed is 80, you can't really go up above 20 degrees because your ball is going to hang up too long. It's going to be caught. If you're 95, you can go up to 30 degrees and be good because you're going to hit homers at that. Balls launched at 30 degrees at 90 and above, 33 degrees, 90 and above are homers. So if you want to hit homers on a big field, you've got to hit the ball above 90 degrees and launch it at a 30-degree launch angle from a 10 to 20 degree swing plane, depending upon, because then you get into spin rate and you overspin balls if your swing plane is lower. But as a general, what do approach angles of 35 or higher generally produce? Usually depends on your exit velocity. If your exit velocity is 70, that's a pop-up. Somebody's going to catch it. If it's 98, that's a homer. It just depends on how hard you hit the ball at 35 degrees, which is why exit velocity matters most in training. Launch angle is good. Everybody can hit the ball high. The intent to drive the ball in the air, you have to have that in order to create swing plane. I don't know if you saw the Houston Astros thing I retweeted today, but Houston Astros lead the league in slugging and their lowest in strikeout percentage, and somebody responded that it makes a whole lot of sense when you swing on playing with the ball that you produce more contact, and that's 100% true. That is not a guess. If you swing on playing with a pitch, you're going to produce more contact. So what are your thoughts on the size of the front leg stride for youth hitters? We'll get to that. We'll take questions in the end. Pocket that question. We'll get to that in the end. So we're just talking about training to raise your exit velocity. If you're going into a cage and you are spending hours practicing and you are not measuring your exit velocity, I'm not sure what you're doing other than making your swing prettier, which they don't give you pretty points. It doesn't matter how good. Try telling Hunter Pence that his swing needs to be prettier. Your swing either functions or it does not. And if it does not, if it looks pretty and doesn't function at a high speed, what have you done? Nothing. You haven't trained anything. Like I watch hitters train in cages all the time and pose on tees and like check their stuff. Like that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like that stuff doesn't matter. Hit the ball harder. Train to hit the ball harder. Lift weights. Bench. It's easy. Bench squat. It's easy to talk about. It's extremely difficult in execution. Bench, squat, deadlift. Get stronger in those foundational things. Add some supplementary stability lifts in that. Become more mobile in your important joints, scaps, hips, thoracic spine, so you can turn better. Best way to measure exit velocity on a hit track. Hang on to that. Get more mobile in your joints, T-spine, hips, scaps, the things that rotational athletes have to be good at. And then swing your weighted bat so that your movement patterns become better and more efficient, and you accelerate the barrel more efficiently so that you produce more force into a baseball, that you increase your exit velocity. It opens your window for launch angles. People that are training and they're not tracking their exit velocity, I don't know what to do. Thanks. The headband's not a fashion thing. It's a function thing. I hate getting haircuts. I don't have time, so I just keep it out of my face. But thanks. Somebody asked on Instagram, what is the best way to measure exit velocity if you don't have a hit tracks? Get a pocket radar. Measure it in front toss. Measure it in off the tee. I mean, it's pocket radars are $300. I've said this for $1,000. For less than $1,000, you can change the development culture of your team. If you're a coach, for less than $1,000, you can change the development culture of your team by making yourself some weighted bats, by getting a diamond kinetic sensor, by getting a pocket radar, measuring your swing planes, measuring your barrel accelerations, measuring your exit speeds, putting some launch angle ropes in your cages so that you're knowing that your 10 to 20 degree swing planes are producing launch angles in this area, and then get a weighted bat I don't care if it's mine. I don't care if you make one up, but weighted bat training has to be part of it. Now, people say, why has weighted bat training not been a norm? Which is a legitimate question. I didn't use it either until I got hit tracks and I could start messing around with this stuff. And I could keep 6-month, 8-month, 12-month intervals to track exit velocity gains. It was pretty easy to see at that point that I was arguing with players less about internal cues. I was arguing with coaches less about like coaches are like, my internal cues are better than yours, so therefore you're right, I'm right, and you're like, I'm not into that. How do we create more efficient movers in? How do we create more efficient movers? Somebody asked on Instagram, how do you overcome errors in tracking? The pocket radar is not going to be a perfect thing. All you need to know is, over time, are you improving? Is it exact? Probably not, but it is a method of measurement that over time, if you put it in the same places all the time and you just write it down, you're going to be able to track improvement or not. Whether it's accurate, it doesn't matter. Just track your improvement. That's all you're trying to do. That's all exit velocity is a method of measurement to track training. Now, StatCast in the major leagues has really opened the window of how hard do these guys hit the ball and how high do they launch the ball in order to produce these crazy sabermetric numbers that they produce. Sabermetrics changed the game and how we valued players. StatCast is now giving us the answers to how those numbers are produced. Guys like we get now. We've got slow motion video. We've got StatCast. We've got numbers next to it. Like, it's great. There's never been a better time for players to develop than now. With the technology we have, you don't have to rely on a guru or a guy that's got 600 wins because he recruited talent to say, oh yeah, your swing looks great. Again, that doesn't matter. Does your swing function? Does it work? That's it. If it works within the basic spaces and parameters, that will work in a game, or even they have some quirkiness to them, but it works in a game. As long as it measures and it tracks and improves, it's really the technology today is really allowing us to go back in time to a time when intent really governed all. The internet is a great thing. I'm able to do this from the middle of nowhere, Virginia, in my 100-year-old block building that I trained players in. But it's caused so much uncertainty in what is actually important and what it actually is not, that technology answers all of those questions. And it will get you back to the point where you don't need opinion. Just let the data be the driver and train to improve that. If you do that, then you can validate your training and you have a chance to be a good player. Whether or not you will be on you. Mental game coach, all that stuff's great. Most players are not even close to where that stuff will matter. I think mental game stuff, the ability to conquer the internal, is really, really valuable at the top. And I'm not discrediting the internal battle that goes on with baseball players at all levels. I just think the better you are, the better you train, the more productive you are, then the farther you go, the more separating the mental game becomes. That's it. And most people aren't there. Your skill will differentiate you at most levels. Train that. Throw harder, run faster, hit balls harder. When the opportunities and doors will open for you. That's the truth. Whether people want to fight and argue about that, whatever. But you have to do those things. Guys that run 7-8 in the 60 don't play outfield in the SEC and they don't get drafted. Guys that hit balls 80 miles an hour are not playing at X school. You're not. You've got to hit the ball hard enough. Is it a guarantee that you're going to be a good hitter? No, but it is a baseline measurement to track progress in training, and it's essential to use if you're serious about your development. Somebody asked about the weighted bat progressions. They're in the programs that I write, that I've released online. We progress from 3 ounce, 5 ounce, 7 ounce in load to cause more central nervous system incorporation, more muscle organization, things of that nature. So yes, there is a progression, because if you stay at the same weight, you'll get the same results that you get with your bat, which is your body's adaptation to say, okay, here's the implement, here's the best way I'm going to move it. Once your brain makes those connections, no matter what you do, it always kind of defaults there, especially in game scenarios where speed, stress, all these things, hitting becomes reactionary. Your central nervous system takes over, your brain takes over, and it doesn't matter what you've tried to cue yourself to change. Unless you affect real change, it's not going to matter. Exit velocity, launch angle, heavy bat, train, get that stuff up. What is the difference between Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round swing? Hold that question. We're going to go questions in the end. The second point that I made, and it was funny one night, I got talk. I don't know why. I told you, if you don't follow my Twitter, follow my Twitter. It's a large brain dump for me, and I get talking about softball one night. And softball is an interesting place that softball players are done greater injustices than baseball players. Period. They get hosed. They are told and taught things that are ridiculous. The same things that play in baseball, play in softball. Power plays, always. Hit balls harder, throw balls harder, run faster. It all matters. If you want to be an elite level hitter in softball, you've got to train your exit velocity to hit balls harder, and you've got to launch balls higher. It's not real hard, okay? But softball players are told all these things about playing a pitch, like all this stuff. And while it does matter some, it doesn't matter enough to like justify an off-plane swing pattern that people cover up by saying, well, this rotational athletes are rotational athletes. They all move similarly. If the outcome, and you've got to work backwards, what is the outcome you want to produce? In softball, over the fence is best. Let's start there. And let's work back. Everything that happens off of the best result, people train it backwards. Let's start with the worst case scenario and let the best case scenario happen. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Let's start over the fence and let's work back. I understand everybody's not going to hit home runs in softball either. But balls that don't go over the fence are balls in the gap. So those are pretty good too. Launch the ball higher, train to get your exit velocity up, and don't buy gimmicky softball swings. Now, I'm not talking about slapping. I don't know anything about that. I've got a daughter. I said this on Twitter. We've got one rule when we hit in the yard. She's got to hit the ball over my head. That's it. She's 5. That's all we work on. Hit the ball over my head. If I flip you this ball, hit it over my head. She'll figure it out. Whether she'll be on time, that'll be up to her. She'll figure it out. We can have a brief conversation about timing and rhythm, but largely, once you figure out what you're looking for in timing and rhythm, figure it out. It's on you. Players want people to tell them how to be on time. I don't have an answer for that. I can tell you what it is, but you've got to largely figure that out. How important is mental training for hitters? It's not if you're a 75 mile an hour exit velocity person. It's not going to matter how mentally tough you are. If you throw 74 and you pitch, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how competitive or tough you are. You're going to get lit up at levels that you hang on, my Instagram feed messed up. You're going to get lit up at competitive levels. You won't be able to play very long. You could be the mentally toughest person on the planet. If you don't have measurable skill, mental training and mental toughness doesn't matter a whole lot. You've got to train your measurable skill to be as good as it can be. That's it. I mean, that's not all that matters, but for all of you that are searching for ways to continue your playing career, your measurable skills matter. You've got to train them. You've got to get them better. And if you're not tracking and measuring and assessing them, then how do you know? And you only get one. You don't hit the rewind button. There's no rewind button. You don't get to go back and say, oh man, I wished that I would have listened and done all the I wish I would have done everything I could have done to be good, instead of being stubborn and stuck in my ways and thinking that this was this or that was that. Like, you've got to do everything you can. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel strongly that the data that I pile up in my computer is not misleading in any way. It is what it is. So you've got to train those things. Softball players get hosed. Some of those swings are brutal. Okay? Figure out, watch good hitters, watch dynamic hitters, baseball, softball. Try to do what they do by and large. There's obviously some exceptions to the rule, but most of them accelerate the barrel at an elite level. Most of them are on plane deep and early. That's what that is. How do you do that? Again, incorporate weighted bats into your training. You won't believe it. It works. You got to take my word for that. One other thing I wanted to talk about, and then we'll take some more questions, is swinging at the first pitch. I posted a batting average of All-Stars from last year of first pitches. Swinging at the first pitch, I think that goes to where you need to know yourself. First pitch is an offensive count. When I talk about approach to hitters, it's really simple. Look for fastballs up in the zone and look to do damage above the defense, period. Look for fastballs up in the zone. Unless you are somebody that the pitcher has shown a tendency to lob off-speed stuff in there, then look for something that's off-speed up in the zone early in a count. You obviously can't do that later in a count, but early in a count, if the pitcher's shown a tendency to flip breakers to you, early in a count, first pitch, then be ready for that and hit it over the fence. Like, look for balls, fastballs particularly, up in the zone, and look to do damage above the defense, period. That's the approach. Now, if you are someone who, I don't know, you've got to know yourself. You know, everybody's got to hit fastballs. So to say, if you're not a very good hitter, if you're a low exit velocity hitter, then take a pitch. Well, that's not real good advice either. I guess the better way to figure that out is how is your understanding of the strike zone? Are you going to swing at terrible pitches? If you're one of those people, then swinging at the first pitch may not be the best idea. But if it's a strike and it's right down the middle, you got to swing at it. You don't get that many opportunities to get good pitches to hit over the course of at bats. You know, and I say this a lot: the sooner that we get over that umpires stink, the better off you'll be. You stand around there long enough, they'll make a bad call. I promise you. It's happened for 100 years. It'll happen for the next 100 years. Umpires are bad. They'll be bad forever. If you give them a chance to be bad, they'll call you out. Get a pitch to hit early in a count, particularly a fastball up. Look to do damage over the top of the defense, period. That's your hitting approach. So all you mental game, all you advanced approach people, don't outthink the room. External intent, the body will organize based upon the external intent. Look to do damage above the defense, be on time. Your swing will be fine. If you've trained in your central nervous, you've done all your work, your swing will be fine. So, if there are any questions, concerns, or regards about weighted bat training, player development, anything that was on my Twitter this week, I kind of look at my analytics and see which tweets got the most attention, and then I try to talk about them on here. If there's something that you read or something that I said or something you want to talk about, something that needs further clarification from my Instagram, from my Twitter, now is the time to ask. There was a few questions that we were going to come back. What age should you start training weighted bats? Generally, when we talk about weighted bats and we enter weighted bat training, players have to have achieved minimal competency. Generally, around the age of 9, we start doing it. Minimal competency to me in baseball, and it's not to me, minimal competency in baseball is hitting the ball consistently. If you swing and miss a lot in batting in front toss, if you're a 7-year-old kid that swings and misses a lot in front toss, weighted bat training is not going to be real beneficial to you. Keep working on your eye-hand coordination and skill. Once you've achieved minimal competency and you are looking to improve the efficiency of your, I've got some 9-year-olds. I posted a video on my Twitter of a 9-year-old that I have here that we do some weighted bat overweight training, and it is only, we take them from a -10 drop bat and we put a -5 drop bat in there. and then I make them swing a light PVC. So they do their regular bat -10. We bump them up to a -5, and then we trick them into swinging a PVC as hard as they can. It just fires on their brain, their central nervous system, their firing of neurons, neural connections, all these things. If you saw the video, the kids swing, it's fantastic, and I promise you I haven't cued him at all. We've kind of talked about basic parameters of spacing, hinging, and moving and turning, and then that's it. He swings the bat based on his external intent. Do you have any favorite timing drills? So, kinda, I guess. I mean, timing is the one thing that I've done with hitters with timing to make them understand the variation of timing is the 3-plate drill, where you put 3 plates, you take 2 swings, and you just move through your progression of 3 plates in BP, so they're not standing at the same plate. They have to understand that the pitch speed, and they have to start sooner or later, or whatever. That's kind of what we do with timing. We use the vision glasses a lot, which affects timing. So I'll talk about vision training glasses one day, I promise. To increase launch angle, do I swing with an upward plane or swing level to create backspin? Yeah. I talked to a guy yesterday from Austin. Backspin's not real, okay? What you see with backspin, it is real. The ball has backspin, I got it. But to actively seek to try to backspin a ball, if you swing down through it, there's not enough energy transfer for the ball to be at a high enough speed where it'll travel anywhere. So to try to swing down and create backspin, you're not going to produce enough exit velocity for it to matter. So backspin kind of cancels it out. Will a backspin ball create a little more carry on a ball that's hit 80 miles an hour? Maybe. But it's 80 miles an hour, it's not going to be that good. Swing on plane, hit the ball 85 miles an hour in center of the ball contact from an upward swing plane, and you'll produce better launch angles at a higher speed. That's the thing. You've got to produce the highest speed you can produce inside of a launch angle. That's all. Speed matters. So supplement weight training with good nutrition and good sleep routines. Your body's a temple treated as such. Yeah. Recovery's not stressed enough, and to be honest, high school kids and you amateurs, they're not interested in recovery. What they want is weight, and I beg them, but I can't go to their house and turn their TV off and unplug their video game and make them get 8 hours of sleep or 9. If you're 16 years old, you need like 10 hours of sleep. So they don't sleep enough. Here's a quick story about sleep and recovery. I had a kid doing driveline programming, velocity programming. We'd come in. I knew he wasn't sleeping enough. I knew he was staying up till 3 in the morning, getting up at 7, going to school. I knew that. So he does it, and we do his arm grades, and his max is not going anywhere. He has his wisdom teeth taken out, and he is forced to sit on the couch, and rest. Really, he slept a lot. Comes back in a week after not throwing at all, and his arm grade went up like 5 or 6 miles an hour, only because he recovered finally. If you don't sleep, if you're not sleeping, if you're not recovering, if you're not doing your soft tissue work, you're not doing all that, then again, the weightlifting, the training, it's kind of null at that point. Somebody asked about, I'm getting a lot of questions on Instagram, so I'm kind of more concentrating there. There's not many people watching on Periscope. Can you explain your training program for a person that is on the fence about purchasing? Yes. Get stronger in bench, squat, deadlift. There's 12-week weight training programs in it. There's mobility programs to help you with your mobility that are important to becoming a hitter. There's a daily roadmap, 4-week daily roadmap, warm-up, mobility, stability work, heavy bat constraint drills, overweight, underweight bats, and it all changes over the 4 weeks. The weight training progressions change, the heavy bat constraint changes, the weight bat constraint changes, and then it's the full library of content that we use, training programs that we use in here every day with results that are backed by the data that we produce on the hit tracks. It's not my opinion. If we need to change the program a little bit, and the one that's harder is the youth. I've been on the phone with 4 or 5 of the clients that have bought the program this week. If you have problems, I will call you and we will work it out, okay? Because youth players are different. They all have different they all have different strength levels, skill levels, so their weighted back programs are all different. Once you get to teenager, they all kind of become what they kind of not the same, but they can follow largely the same progression. Youth are harder, and I get on the phone and I talk to people about their kids and try to get them in the right ballpark as far as what they need to do in their heavy bat constraint drills and their weighted bat series flips T-work. If you're on the fence about purchasing, there's a free trial now. I put in a free trial this week that you can go in and you can look at the massive library. You can't have access to it because I can't give everything away, but you can have access to it to see all of what's in there. It's somewhere, I think if you click the link on my Instagram and my Twitter and follow it to the bottom, you can sign up for the free trial just to see what's in there. Again, it's full access to everything we do in here. I'd like access, and it's full access to me, Q&A, emails, phone calls, whatever you need. What is your opinion on sports specialization? Is that like, I think you ought to play 2 sports. Colleges want guys that if you are trying to be recruited and you were the starting quarterback and you produce measurable skills, then you have the leg up over, because it shows you're competitive. You give me a kid who's athletic, who produces measurable skills, that's maybe not as good at baseball, but he does those things. I'll take that kid. Play another sport. Because if you're young, play all the sports you can play. It's not very important that you specialize, because general overall athleticism is more important than skill specialization at 9 years old. Play football, play basketball, play soccer, do whatever. Play as much as you can play. In high school later on, playing 3 sports is really hard. I recommend you play 2, especially if baseball is your thing, because you need to train your measurable skills. So if you play 3, there's no time to train your measurable skills. Now, if you're just somebody there are certainly people who are walking around who just got it. If you're somebody who just got it, play 3, and then go out in the spring, throw 95 and dominate. Some people just have that. Most people don't. So you need to take time to improve your velocity, to improve your throwing velocity, to improve your exit velocity, and train. Get stronger. Bench, squat, and deadlift. If you're not happy with your exit velocity, bench, squat, and deadlift, start there. Get in a weight room. Get yourself a progression and get in the weight room and get stronger. If you can't deadlift twice your body weight, get in a weight room and deadlift. And then get yourself some weighted bats and improve the efficiency of your movement. Where do I give lessons? I give lessons in 2 places. This place is in Virginia, in Wise, Virginia. The other place that I work is in Bristol, Tennessee, kind of in the Virginia-Tennessee corridor. I give clinics everywhere. If you're interested in a clinic, we can work out the details of that. I've traveled a few places and brought my hit tracks. In my clinics, I give away a year access to, I come and I walk you through the entire program. I show you and teach you what you need to know to get you started in the program. I give you access to the program, and then if you've got access to the program, then you can train. You need to train. You don't need me to come and cue you up as in a camp setting. You need to train. Here's a good question. If I'm a pitcher, I'm 13 years old, is 61 good? It doesn't matter if 61 is good now. Do you have a plan to make it better? That's what I say about all numbers. If your exit velocity is 80 today, fine. Do you have a plan? Do you have a real plan to make it better? Not you're gonna hit balls off the tee. That's not a real plan. Do you have a weightlifting plan? I'm gonna go lift weights. What are you gonna do? What kind of progression are you gonna follow? What are you gonna do? Well, that's generally the question I get when people send me DMs. I have open DMs on Twitter. I have open DMs on Instagram. I'm on Snapchat. You can get me there. That's generally the question I get when I ask people, well, what do you bench? What do you squat? What do you deadlift? Well, this, and this. What's your plan to get better? Well, I lift. Well, what do you do? And they don't have a plan. Well, I do this, and this. What is your progression over 4 weeks? I don't know. Do you change? Do you adapt? I don't know. You got to have a plan. Whatever your number is, it doesn't matter. You've got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan to increase your throwing velocity, your exit velocity, your measurable strength, then you don't have anything. You don't have anything. You're just wishing, I think. And if you want to wish, that's fine too. I've got friends who are wishing. That's fine. If you don't measure and you don't track progress, fine. That doesn't mean anything. Just it's not the best way to train. What is the facility built in? This is a 100-year-old building that used to be an Apple storage house. in my hometown of where I live. Really cool building. I love it. Everybody that comes here loves it. People that come here from out of town love it. I just had a guy here, college guy here from Cincinnati training. Love it. It's functional. There's no bells and whistles. I say that it's more Rocky Balboa than Ivan Drago. Other than the hit tracks, I have a hit track. So we have the hit tracks, but as far as the function of our building, it's not elite. It's not fancy. It's functional. It's weights. It's plywood care wall. It's cage. It's machine. It's fastballs. It's hard work. I say this on Twitter all the time. We push failure right in the middle of the table. We make the environment as hard as we can make it. That way, when the guys leave out of here, my goal in here is to make this harder than the game. If this can be harder than the game, when they get to the game, it'll be great. And that's what we do. People don't like that though. That's not a great business model, because kids get very, very, very frustrated when you put failure on the table. They try to run and avoid it. That is this generation today. They're running and hiding from anything that looks like failure. That's the way they're programmed in school. That's the way their parents have programmed them. They just hide them and protect them from failure. I push it right in the center of the table, and we look it right in the face every day. We make it as hard as we can make it. We play live games. We use vision, the strobe glasses during BP. We turn the machine on. We hit sliders. We turn the machine on. We hit fastballs. We do the weighted bats, and our guys get better. It's a small group of guys because it's not for everyone. But again, they get better. I got all the data in the computer. They get better. The people that train here, their measurables get better. Now, what they do with them out of here, they're on their own to figure it out. I can't play the game for you. What should be your mindset when you hit in the game? Look for a fastball up and do damage. Think you're the best player on the planet. If you don't believe you're good, nobody else will. So you've got to believe you're good. I believe that if you believe you're good, there's a lot of guys who hit just upon that. They have an attitude of I don't care, I'm just better than you, and they go beat the pitcher. So that's that. They hit balls hard enough to where they don't train, and that happens all the time. Well, such and such doesn't train. Well, he's got a badass mentality, and he hits balls hard enough to do damage. End-loaded compared to hand-loaded bats is a varying feel. Yes, we do both. We have end-loaded bat, we have knob-loaded bat, and we have an underload bat that we progress through in front toss. We use really heavy bats in our constraint drills, plus 16s, plus 20s, plus 24 ounces on their normal weighted bat. We weight them differently, and then we used end-load knob. You create as much variation as you can create to force as much adaptability as you can create inside of external intent. The more variability that you can create inside of external intent, the better and more efficient your movement is going to be. Uncued, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to cue players. You don't have to say, hey, hands inside the ball, hey, stay closed, whatever the jargon your coach is throwing around at you. You don't have to do it. You just improve the efficiency of your movement. People charge like $80 an hour to tell you those things. Don't need to do it. Buy some weighted bats. Do some constraint drills. Your move will get better. You'll hit balls harder, and measure that stuff. I promise it works. Is improving skills in baseball all about repetition? No, it's about doing the right things. If you do the right things, you can beat your head up against the wall swinging off plane, and you're only going to be so good. Period. If you don't swing on plane, you can hit balls for days. And coaches, I listen to coaches all the time. Hang on, my Instagram feed is coming back. I don't know what's going on with it here. Oh, here we go. Sorry. We disconnected. I don't have a very good internet signal in here. But I was just saying, coaches all the time, focus, whatever, stay closed. If you're off plane, you're off plane. You can hit balls for the next 100 years, you're not going to be very good. So doing the right things matters. Swinging on plane matters. If you can increase the amount of time your barrel's on plane as a hitter, great. If you can increase the amount of acceleration your barrel produces, great. Now improving those skills in baseball matter. But it's not all about repetition. You got to do the right things. And a lot of players aren't doing the right things. A lot of players aren't getting the right information. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm on Twitter, and that's why I'm doing this. So work on the right stuff. Are there any other questions, Instagram or Periscope? Okay. Well, this is something we're going to do on Sundays. The Periscope crowd, I don't know where everybody is tonight, but the Periscope crowd was very quiet tonight. Instagram was great, though. So we'll do this. I'll hang out a few more minutes on Instagram. Periscope, you can watch this over the next 24 hours. Make sure you check out the free program. Make sure you follow along. Make sure you shoot me any questions you've got. And I appreciate you stopping in. Hang on, I'll stay on for Instagram a few more